This is Lake Effect Radio. Good morning, and this is the news at 10 here on Lake Effect Radio. Your news reader this morning is Ryan LeGrand. At least 60 people have been killed and 110 wounded in 3 bomb blasts near the revered Shiite shrine of Sayyida Zainab outside the Syrian capital Damascus, a state media said. The state news agency SANA said the first blast was caused by a car bomb that detonated at a bus station near the shrine. It then said 2 suicide bombers then detonated their explosive belts when people gathered at the scene. A photographer at the scene said the blast caused massive damage, shattering windows and ripping a huge crater in the road. Smoke rose from the twisted carcasses of more than a dozen cars and a bus damaged in the blast, as ambulances ferried away the wounded and firefighters worked put out blazes started by the bombings. The shrine south of the capital contains the grave of a granddaughter of the Prophet Muhammad and is particularly revered as a pilgrimage site by Shiite Muslims. It has continued to attract pilgrims from Syria and beyond, particularly Shiite from Iran, Lebanon, and Iraq throughout the war, and has been targeted in previous bomb attacks. Last February, 2 suicide attacks killed 4 people and wounded 13 at a checkpoint near the shrine. Also, that month, a blast ripped through a bus carrying Lebanese Shiite pilgrims headed to the shrine, killing at least 9 people, an attack claimed by Al-Nusra Front, which is an affiliate of Al-Qaeda. There are no immediate claim of responsibility for today's attack. The area around the shrine is heavily secured with regime checkpoints set up hundreds of meters away to prevent vehicles from getting close to the shrine. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, members of Lebanon's powerful Shiite militant group Hezbollah are among those deployed at the checkpoints. The Britain-based Monitor said 47 people were killed in the blast, including a car bomb that targeted a checkpoint, included non-Syrian Shiite militants without specifying their nationalities. Hezbollah is a staunch ally of Syria's President Bashar al-Assad and has dispatched fighters to bolster his troops against the uprising that began in March of 2011 with anti-government protests. Early on, the group justified its intervention in Syria by citing a threat to the shrine. More than 260,000 people have been killed in Syria's conflict, which has also displaced over half the country's population internally and abroad. It has evolved into a complex, multi-front war involving rebels, jihadists, regime, and allied forces, Kurds, and airstrikes by both government ally Russia and the U.S.-led coalition, fighting against Daesh. Also dealing with Syria, the United Nations Human Rights Chief has said no amnesty should be possible for people suspected of committing war crimes or crimes against humanity as Geneva hosts the troubled talks aimed at ending the Syria's war. Quote, "We do have a principled position in the United Nations that no amnesty should be considered for those suspected of having committed crimes against humanity or war crimes," UN Rights Chief Zaid Ra'ad al-Hussein told reporters in Geneva. His comments came as indirect UN brokered talks between Syria's warring parties, which had been scheduled to start last week, continue to struggle to get off the ground. Mr. Zaid says the talks must go forward and secure a swift end to the violence. Quote, "Naturally, after 5 years of this most gruesome spectacle of seeing the Syrian public subjected to public executions, we hope and pray that the talk of being mediated by UN Syrian envoy Staffan de Mistura will lead to the end of all of these horrific abuses, human rights abuses, violations of international humanitarian law," he said. He condemned the tragic scenes unfolding in the besieged city of Madaya, where 46 people starved to death since December, according to Medicine Sans Frontières charity, which has warned dozens more were on the verge of death. Quote, "Clearly, when looking most recently at the forced starvations of the people of Madaya and knowing there are 15 other besieged towns and cities, this is not just a war crime, but a crime against humanity, if proven in court," Mr. Zaid said. He also said that his office estimates that, quote, "tens of thousands of persons in Syria are currently being held under arbitrary detention." Further, quote, "Clearly, they need to be released." More than 250,000 people have been killed since the conflict erupted in 2011, and half of the country's population has been forced to flee their homes. While urging a swift end to Syria's war, Mr. Zaid said negotiations needed to steer clear of offering amnesties for the worst of the crimes committed. Quote, It is clear in some of the circumstances when looking at the end of the conflict, amnesties are being thought of, and there is much discussion in many contexts about this, he said. Further quote, in the case of Syria, we are here to remind everyone that where allegations reach the threshold of war crimes or crimes against humanity, amnesties are not permissible. Dozens of people are feared dead. Dozens of people were feared dead yesterday when Boko Haram Islamist militants, armed with firearms and explosives, attacked a village in northeastern Nigeria, officials said. Suicide bombers also carried out deadly attacks yesterday in the Lake Chad region, an area frequently targeted by Boko Haram, a local security official said. Nigeria's army said jihadists had taken Dalori, some 12 kilometers from Maiduguri, late on Saturday, and burned down the village. Dalori is near camps set up for people displaced by the 7-year-old Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. Quote, during the incident, lives were lost while some people sustained injuries. Probably the most generic statement you can ever make. Army spokesman Colonel Mustafa Anka said in a statement, residents claimed that at least 50 people were killed in the attack, which happened after evening prayers on Saturday. Colonel Anka said jihadists arrived in the village in cars and on motorcycles, quote, before they started opening fire and burning houses. He said 3 female suicide bombers trying to mix with the villagers were, quote, intercepted and subsequently got blown up. Unclear as in whether they got blown up by enemy fire or they just prematurely detonated. Not sure. And in the Lake Chad region, 3 people were killed and dozens wounded in 2 suicide bombings, another security official said. The first attack in Guy, I think. A bomber on a motorcycle blew himself up, killing 1 person, injuring 32, while the second attack in the village of Maternity left 2 dead, 24 wounded, the official said. Boko Haram, which seeks a hardline Islamic State in northern not capitalized, by the way. I do not refer to those psychopaths as such. In northern Nigeria, has killed some 17,000 people and forced more than 2.6 million others to flee their homes since 2009. The top UN human rights official has urged Turkey to investigate apparent shooting by security forces of unarmed civilians in the city of Sirs. Zeid Ra'ad al-Hussein described the incident in which 10 people were wounded as, quote, extremely shocking. Cizre has been the focus of an offensive by the Turkish army against the Kurdish rebel group, the PKK. Mr. al-Hussein also expressed concerns over reports that the man who filmed the incident was arrested. Quote, filming an atrocity is not a crime, but shooting unarmed civilians is most certainly is, he said. Quote, it is essential and there is a thorough, independent, impartial investigation into this and any other events that have led to wounding or killing of civilians. The incident in Sirs, a predominantly Kurdish city, occurred on January 20th. Video footage posted online purporting to be of the immediate aftermath of the shootings shows people being loaded into ambulances amid screaming and the sound of explosions. Reports suggested that the group who came under fire were attempting to rescue people wounded in earlier clashes. The video footage also appears to show that some of the group were pushing a cart loaded with bodies across the street, watched by an armored military vehicle. Mr. al-Hussein, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said the victims had been, quote, apparently cut down in a hail of gunfire. The unrest came just days after security forces killed 20 Kurdish militants in clashes near Diyarbakir, according to the Turkish military. 3 Turkish soldiers also died in the rebel attack, they also said. The region has suffered the worst violence in 2 decades since the ceasefire between the Turkish government and the PKK collapsed in July. The PKK, which has fought for autonomy for Turkey's Kurdish minority for decades, has been attacking security forces, while the army has been besieging Kurdish-dominated towns. The Turkish Human Rights Foundation said at least 198 civilians, including 39 children, have died in areas under curfew since August. Since July, more than 200 Turkish soldiers and policemen have been killed in attacks by the PKK, which is listed as a terrorist organization by Turkey, the European Union, and the United States. The European Union has called for an immediate ceasefire. Maybe possibly focusing their guns on Daesh, perhaps? I don't know. And before the break, an emergency meeting of the World Health Organization is being held to discuss the, quote, explosive... Actually, you know what? I'm going to just do that after the break because it's quite long. Pardon me. something a bit more calmer for before the break. The first freely elected parliament in Myanmar in 50 years has held its opening session. Hundreds of new MPs, mostly from the National League for Democracy, or NLD, but also some smaller parties, have been sworn in and taken their seats. The NLD, led by Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, actually, I'm not sure if she's a Nobel laureate. Check that for me, please, if you can. Won 80% of the contested seats in November's historic election, but a quarter of all seats are reserved for the military, which also retains control of key ministries. One of the new parliament's first jobs will be to choose a new president when outgoing leader Thein Sein steps down at the end of March. Ms. Suu Kyi, who spent 15 years under house arrest under former military government, cannot take the top job. The clause in the Constitution, which was widely seen as specifically targeting her, says anyone whose children are foreign cannot be president. Her sons are British, not Burmese. She has been very clear, however, that she intends to run Myanmar anyway, saying she would be, quote, above the president, presumably being the woman behind the man, woman behind the woman, perhaps. Perhaps looking for a more Westminster-style system, perhaps? I'm not sure. Ms. Suu Kyi, who was not named a possible candidate, did not speak to reporters as she entered the building. But NLD MP Nain Thit told AFP news agency, quote, "We will work to get human rights and democracy as well as peace." Another NLD MP, sorry, I was about to reread the thing. Another NLD MP, Kin Myint, told the Associated Press, quote, "I never imagined that our party would be able to form the government. Even the public didn't think we could have an NLD government, but now it is like a shock to us and to the world as well." Lamon Na Aung, an MP for the minority Kachin State Democracy Party, said a seat in parliament was, quote, "a good opportunity for us to speak out for the ethnic people and demand indigenous rights," AP reports. The parliament in the capital, Nyai Phrai Tha, is that the name of the parliament or the city? I'm not sure. Possibly both. Began its session by electing NLD steward U Win Myint as Speaker of the lower house, as expected. That's normal. U T Kun Myat of the military-backed Union Solidarity and Development Party was voted in as his deputy. Don't know whether that's normal or not. The transition from military-only rule will go on until the NLD government officially starts its term in April. The army overthrew the last democratically elected parliament in 1962. We will return after the break. This is Lake Effect Radio.
Listening to Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio, the official home of Lakeland Sports. If you want to watch and listen, you can tune to www.livestream.com/Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio.
Gibbs forces the switch, goes right down Euclid. LeBron James helped him out.
You move without the ball. We saw him going to the basket. He got an opportunity to get inside, and he throws the hammer down.
Lakeland Community College is your opportunity for a great education.
For high school graduates and adults starting an associate's or bachelor's degree.
For hundreds of students starting college while still in high school.
For parents wanting to save thousands on a college education.
For graduates in high-demand careers who keep our workforce strong.
And now, earn bachelor's and graduate degrees closer to home through the Holden University Center.
Lakeland is here for all of us.
Visit us today at lakelandcc.edu.
For the 6th year, Lakeland has been designated as a military-friendly school by GI Jobs magazine. The list honors Lakeland as one of the top 15 colleges, universities, and trade schools, which do the most to embrace America's student veterans and ensure that they succeed on campus. Lakeland is also a Service Members Opportunity College approved by the State Approving Agency for Veterans. Lakeland's inclusion on the 2015 list of military-friendly schools was based on a criteria such as class flexibility, which includes evening classes, online classes, and weekend classes. Also, military-specific support services, ability for veterans groups, and networking.
The Lakeland Library presents Author Meet and Greet with Tammy Bailey, Thursday, February 11th at 11:30 a.m. in the library. Join Miss Bailey to discuss her novel, Lord Bachelor, and process of writing and concepts of publication. Copies of the books are available for purchase with light refreshments will be served. The Lakeland Library, the Lakeland Collaboration Space, 3rd floor C building in C3051. Call 440-525-7224 for more information.
Be sure to watch us live on www.livestream.com/lakeeffect.
For a low fee of $15, a thorough and educational full mouth cleaning, along with dental care instruction, any needed x-rays, and a fluoride treatment can be completed for you at the LCC Dental Hygiene Clinic. The clinic is located on the ground floor of H Building and is open to all interested adults and children in the community. Call 440-525-7220 or stop in to make an appointment today.
Come watch the Lakeland basketball teams as they take on Sinclair on January 30th at Lakeland Community College. The women start at 1 and the men start at 3. You can listen on www.livestream.com/Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio.
We're listening to Lake Effect Radio. Keep rocking around the clock tower, guys.
Resources, Finding Scholarships, College Success Workshop, Thursday, February 4th, 12:30 p.m. to 1:15. Library is on the 3rd floor C building. Register at My Lakeland Student tab. Schedule it. For more information, please call 440-525-7425 for more information.
Textbooks on reserve at Lakeland Library. Select textbooks are not available for students to check out and use in the library. Donations of current textbooks to the Textbook on Reserve. Programs are encouraged from instructors and students. If your textbook is not currently available in the library, please contact your instructor to provide a copy of their textbook for the Textbook on Reserve program. For more information on the library-initiated Textbook on Reserve program, please call 440-525-7424.
Hi, this is Rachel and Megan from the Scenic Ground.
Check us out on Facebook and buy our new album, Epic, on iTunes.
This is Lake Effect Radio. Indeed it is, with your newsreader, Ryan LeGrand. An emergency meeting of the World Health Organization is being held to discuss the, quote, explosive spread of the Zika virus. The meeting in Geneva will decide whether to declare a global emergency. WHO officials have described Zika as moving, quote, from a mild threat to one of alarming proportions. Most cases have no symptoms, but the virus has been linked to brain abnormalities such as microcephaly in thousands of newborn babies in Brazil. Meanwhile, in the country, officials have been given permission to break into properties that could be harboring mosquito breeding grounds. Not unheard of, actually. The United States has done similar things in the past as well. Not for Zika, but for things like yellow fever and malaria and other such things. It's not unprecedented. They will be able to force entry when the place is abandoned or when nobody is there to give access to the house. Declaring a, quote, public health emergency of international concern would establish Zika as a serious global threat and lead to money, resources, and scientific expertise being thrown at the issue, both in South America and in laboratories around the world. The World Health Organization's actions are under intense scrutiny after its mess up over the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa. Its efforts to prevent the spread of the virus were widely criticized, and it was deemed to have been too slow to declare an emergency. Professor Peter Pyatt from London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine told the British Broadcasting Corporation, quote, WHO clearly dropped the ball in responding to the Ebola crisis. It took about 5 months to declare Ebola in West Africa a public health emergency. Further quote, by any means, this Zika is a public health emergency with the sheer numbers of people who are coming down with flu-like symptoms, but particularly the complications, unquote. At the meeting, experts in disease control, virology, and vaccine development will brief the WHO Director General Dr. Margaret Chan. Last week, she said, quote, the level of concern is high, as is the level of uncertainty. Questions abound. We need to get some answers quickly. For all these reasons, I decided to converge an emergency committee. Further quote, I'm asking the committee for advice on the appropriate level of international concern and for recommended measures that should be undertaken in affected countries and elsewhere. Since mosquito-borne disease was first detected in Brazil in May of last year, the virus has spread to more than 20 countries. The biggest concern is a surge of microcephaly, babies born with abnormally small heads, and a rare nervous system disorder, Guillain-Barré syndrome. The link between the virus and these disorders has not been confirmed, but Dr. Chang said it was, quote, strongly suspected and was, quote, deeply alarming. And she warned the situation could yet deteriorate as, quote, this year's El Nino weather patterns are expected to increase mosquito populations greatly in many areas. The World Health Organization has already predicted that 4 million people could be infected with the Zika virus in the Americas this year. An announcement on whether the Zika virus constitutes global emergency is not expected until at least tomorrow. The World Health Organization could also make recommendations on travel to affected areas, tracking the spread of the virus, best practice for treating patients, or efforts to fast-track the development of vaccines and/or cures. A university in South India has reopened after protests over the death of a Dalit student forced it to shut down. Rohit Vemula, a PhD student, killed himself inside the campus of Hyderabad Central University last month. He was one of 5 Dalits, formerly known as, quote, untouchables, students who were protesting against their expulsion from the university housing facility. Mr. Vemula's friends have blamed the university's top officials and a federal minister for his death. Imran Qureshi, an associate with BBC Hindi, said the protesting students decided to return to classes after arriving at a, quote, conditional agreement with the newly appointed vice chancellor of the university. The university has already revoked the suspension of the four other Dalit students following the uproar over Mr. Vemula's death. The university was shut down on January 18th after Mr. Vemula, a research scholar, took his own life. Mr. Vemula's friends want action to be taken against the university's senior officials as well as federal minister Bandaru Dattataria, who was accused of pressuring university officials to take action against the Dalit students. Students across India have held protests over this incident. Mr. Vemula and the other 4 students faced allegations last year that they attacked a member of the ABVP, which is the student wing of the ruling BJP. They all denied the charge. BJP being, I can't say Hindu nationalists because they're not actually Hindu nationalists, but they sort of are on the same side, sort of like how people who are white supremacists tend to vote Republican, but Republicans themselves are white supremacists, like that. The university cleared them in an initial inquiry, but reversed its decision in December. What? The 5 Dalit students were subsequently barred from using the university's housing and other facilities, reports say, prompting their supporters to allege they've been subject to a, quote, social boycott. A British helicopter pilot has been shot dead by elephant poachers in Tanzania, a conservation charity has said. Englishman Roger Gower was helping authorities in Tanzania track the criminals when they fired on his aircraft, according to the Friedkin Conservation Fund, or FCF. He managed to bring the helicopter down in the Massa Game Reserve near Serengeti National Park in the country's north, but died from his wounds before he could be rescued. Pictures posted online show the badly damaged aircraft remains of the helicopter, including a bloody bullet hole in the pilot seat of the aircraft, which lay on its side in the savanna grass. A message posted on its website, FCF founder Dan Friedkin said the organization was, quote, profoundly saddened by the loss of our dear friend. He said, quote, Roger was killed while piloting a helicopter during a coordinated effort with the Tanzanian wildlife authorities, tracked down and arrested active elephant poachers. In the course of this action, the poachers fired upon the helicopter, and Roger was fatally wounded. We are committed to honoring Roger and his work. We also committed to ensuring that those responsible for his attack are found and brought to justice. We believe that Roger can be best honored by redoubling our commitment to protect elephants and our priceless wildlife heritage. This tragic event again highlights the appalling risk and costs of protecting Tanzania's wildlife, Mr. Friedkin said. Mr. Goer is reported to be a former accountant who qualified as a pilot in 2004. Pratik Patel, a colleague from the FCF, told a British Broadcasting Corporation Mr. Goer was shot on a Friday afternoon during a patrol as he approached the last carcass of 3 elephants that had been killed by poachers. He paid tribute to, quote, a great guy, a great friend, a great pilot, who he said loved working with Tanzania's wildlife. He said, quote, Roger was an amazing person, an amazing character, full of joy, full of life. He loved Africa, he loved Tanzania, and he loved being in the bush. The pilot's main role in flying people between the different camps on the reserve, Mr. Patel's the pilot's main role was flying people between different camps on the reserve, Mr. Patel said. We also spent some time every day flying patrols to support ground staff in their work against poachers. Tanzania MP Lazaro Nilan Adu, a former minister for natural resources and tourism, paid tribute to Britain's work. He said on Twitter, "R.I.P. Captain Roger. You loved our country, and I know you went on many flights we took together in defense of our wildlife heritage. Life is precious," he went on. Quote, "Those poachers who killed Captain Rogers are cowards, evil, and sad people. A fine-hearted individual gone too soon, and our hearts are broken. Captain Rogers' body was flown into Arusha early today, as those who killed him are still at large. Everything must be done to bring them to justice." Foreign Office spokesman said, quote, "We can confirm the death of a British national in Tanzania and are providing assistance to the family at this difficult time." I also imagine the International Civil Aviation Organization also takes a vested interest, because this is basically civil aircraft were shot down. Simple as that. Probably by rifle fire instead of missiles, like what we normally expect, like Korean Airlines 007 and other such incidents, MH13, anyone. But I imagine they also take a vested interest. And let me say it this way, I'd be very, 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 very mad. And on that note, we will have the weather forecast coming up. Now the weather forecast for Kirtland, Ohio, up through Wednesday. Today, mostly cloudy, high 41. West, 7 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 28. West, around 5 miles per hour, becoming calm in the evening. Tuesday, mostly cloudy, high 52. East, 7 to 16 miles per hour. Tuesday night, showers after 10, low 49. Breezy, southeast 20 to 24 miles per hour, gusts as high as 36 miles per hour. Precipitation chance 100%. New precipitation amounts between a quarter and half of an inch. Wednesday, a slight chance of showers, mostly cloudy, high 50. Southwest 15 to 18 miles per hour, gusts as high as 29 miles per hour. Precipitation chance 20%. And Wednesday night, a chance of snow showers, cloudy, low 26. Chance of precipitation 40%. New snow accumulation less than half of an inch. And finally today, here on the news at 10, maps showing the sites of traffic collisions are being hung in public toilets in New Zealand as part of a road safety campaign aimed at foreigners. The maps have been installed above urinals and on cubicle doors in about 60 toilets in the southern region of South Canterbury, the stuff.co.nz website reports. They show locations of all crashes on the region's roads between 2011 and last year, along with safety notices and driving tips in 5 languages, including Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Maori, and English. Among them is a reminder that in New Zealand, cars drive on the left-hand side of the road. Daniel Naud, South Canterbury's road safety coordinator, says he was trying to think of a way to get people to stop ignoring road safety messages when he realized the toilets provided a captive audience. He said he hopes the signs will be a good read for, quote, 30 seconds when there's nothing else to do, other than whatever you're doing in the bathroom. Yeah. New Zealand has been wrestling with the problem of traffic collisions involving tourists for months. In South Canterbury, about 8% of crashes resulting in injury over the past 4 years, involve overseas drivers, according to New Zealand Transport Agency statistics. A spate of fatal car crashes involving foreign drivers prompted public anger in 2015, and car rental companies have been encouraged to adopt a code of practice, giving visitors more information on the rules of the road before they are handed the keys. So, if you're bored and you are using the facilities instead of infecting your phone or whatever by looking up stupid crap on whatever, on something insane like Facebook, you can actually look at something, not contaminate your phone with whatever you're expelling from your body at that point in time, and actually and make sure you don't kill anyone by accident. That is encouraging, to say the least, and probably a better use of time and space than other things, like, I don't know, ads. Although I suppose it's a public service announcement, so it would be an ad of sorts. Except, so thank you for listening. This is Ryan LeGrand, who read the news to you today on the 1st of February, 2016. Tomorrow is Groundhog Day, and make sure Mr. Rossetti doesn't come and try to eat your face off. Thank you. Keep on listening here at Lake Effect Radio.